Some breaking news, sad news this morning. Illinois will be without Ty Rodgers to begin next season. All of the big Illinois reporters and accounts were all over this as far as news dropping, but the first place that I saw it was from Joey Wagner. So shout out to Joey Wagner. Brad Underwood said Ty Rodgers is out indefinitely after an injury that he suffered in a pickup game back home in Saginaw, Michigan over the weekend. Rodgers is still in Michigan and will require surgery. Sounds like there's a lot of speculation on what exactly this could be. When it's serious enough that it happens and very quickly, there's reports that he's out indefinitely. I think you would be able to elaborate on this. That's not good at all. If there was any speculation that it wasn't all that serious, I think you'd be keeping it a lot more open ended. But for it to be framed as a knee injury, is what Brad Underwood said, that will require surgery. I mean, it makes you speculate on some of the more severe injuries you could possibly have. I'm not even going to name names. You're probably thinking of three-letter type injuries that come to mind, like I am. But we don't know until they specify. We'll keep it vague. But at minimum, a surgery requiring out indefinitely knee injury for Ty Rodgers. Very sad news. Before I throw it to you, it's very sad. Ty Rodgers is one of the best people in college basketball, and I know we make jokes at that expense sometimes, but it's also very real, and we can read the room on that. It's true. He is every bit the spectacular teammate that he is billed as. I mean, his story from when he started at Illinois to where he is now, um, going through a tough year with a lot of adversity and quite frankly bad characters in the locker room turned into Ty being the one guy that stays and became the face of a really successful team, face of a culture that he sort of gave and helped create with Terrence Shannon into this guy who was so, I don't know, unselfish, so sacrificial last year in the sense of like, hey, I'm willing to step aside and just let this team full of Europeans do what they can do. Let me preserve a year and just be a great leader. And if you watch those games and if you talk to people within the program like we do, he was a legitimate contributor last year while not even playing, just off of leadership and what he could provide that team in practice. And for all of his patience, all of his sacrifices to not pay themselves off in the form of an on-court role that was expected this year and instead earn him a serious injury is not what anyone would have wished on this kid. So whatever we're going to say next aside, I feel really bad for this kid. Out of everyone on earth, no one deserves an injury, but this kid deserves to have a chance, and he's not going to get that, it sounds like, this year. What is your instant reaction to this news?
Yeah, I think you can't start this conversation or have this conversation without saying exactly what you just said. Like you don't want to see injuries happen to anybody, and I mean anybody. But for it to happen to Ty after kind of the year he had where he red shirts willingly for the betterment of the team and is set to have a role for this year's team and just like in general in a program that one of the main buzzwords on the team is retention and the main phrase of the team is everyday guys. Ty Rodgers is something that encompasses that, in my opinion. Like when I think everyday guys, I do think guys like Ty Rodgers with the program and what he's done for it and the role he plays. And obviously, before we get into basketball stuff, just in general, like we are big fans of Ty Rodgers, the person. Like this is not who you want to see this happen to. So just from a human aspect of this, like I just you feel terrible for him. That's really the most initial thing you can talk about before you get to the basketball portion of it.
Yeah, there is no bright side here. There's no bright side for Ty. I don't want to act like there is. The only even I guess what's the word like when you find like, the silver lining here would just be this. If there is like a strength and conditioning person on earth that I would trust a kid to suffer a serious injury from and then work with to rehab it, it's Fletch. So I even would preface this. This is devastating, but I think there's still hope here that like with the Illinois strength staff, he will at least make a full recovery at some point, and I think maybe still have a chance to complete his basketball career in the way that we had hoped maybe he would have a chance to build on this upcoming season. There's the personal side, which I think we just hit on. Then there's the basketball side for Illinois, the team. And I will say, this is I don't know that there's more of like a wild card player in the country for this to have happened to in terms of what it does to a projection for a team. Because depending on who you ask, some people have said Ty Rodgers is the one of the three or four most important players on this team. I mean, I've made jokes about it, right? It's not time for jokes, but I've talked about how Latulip likes to use Ty as a returning player, even though he didn't play last year. And it sounds like smart Illinois people had the expectation that this would be one of the five most important players on Illinois next year. I don't know that you or I ever fully agreed with that, but whether or not we agreed on it doesn't matter at this point. What is Illinois losing with Ty Rodgers out indefinitely?
So to me, Ty Rodgers' impact on this team specifically is less on court, if that makes sense to me. Like I thought that he brought a sense of continuity and leadership to this team, in all honesty. But like looking at the roster and the front court and how it was going to play out, I just had harder of a time seeing what Ty Rodgers' role would necessarily look like, given his shortcomings as far as his skill set and kind of what positionally he can do at his size. I just think that there are other options in the front court that I think could step up where Ty Rodgers was kind of going to play. But the main thing is with a bunch of new pieces involved with this team, and you know, obviously some pieces coming back. I thought Ty's impact would be felt more so in a leader role. Now I don't know like what that would have looked like basketball wise. Honestly, I think the best version of Illinois has Ty Rodgers not playing like 20 minutes a game or something like that. I think it's more of a lesser role, but like I think the leadership that he could bring as being around the program was where he was gonna be most felt. So I guess that doesn't really equate to on court role.
This video is brought to you by NBA2K Lab.com. 2K Lab worked with us last summer as well. They're one of our favorite entities in all of sports gaming. We want to show you their college basketball stadium locator challenge game. And I'm going to share a screen right now as we do this. South Carolina, bang. Oh,
Ooh,
okay, that's pretty good. Next, North Carolina. Why are we only getting the Carolinas?
please
Bang.
lock in.
St. John's, that's New
New
York.
York.
Bang.
Where's New Jersey?
We're on fire. Colorado. I actually don't know what state Colorado is.
It's it's in Colorado. There's a state of
Is that
Colorado.
this one?
It's to the right of Phoenix.
Anyway, you get the picture. This game's really fun. They've got more games as well, like Guess the NBA Player, Mystery Fantasy Draft, and more. Stay tuned for all of the college football content and games that they'll be putting together to help you get the best experience out of college football 26. Back to the video. So I think people know this. I've historically been about as low on Ty Rodgers, the basketball player, as you can be, while simultaneously being about as high on Ty Rodgers, the person, as you can be. I mean, we've made enough videos about this offseason. People know where I stand. I just don't think he was going to be a major contributor to this team. Now, if you want to debate me on what major contributor meant, we could have done that. And now we're not going to get the chance to, quite frankly, which is a bummer. You add all of these reasons I'm bummed we're not going to see this. It's because I was so curious what was actually going to happen, right? Was I dead wrong and Ty was going to be incredible for this team, or was I right and Ty was not going to factor into this team very much? Even with my viewpoint being what it was on Ty, I think there are roughly three things that this injury really impacts for Illinois. And I wonder if maybe Brad Underwood will look for a late, I don't know, something to cover up some of these. But number one, like unquestionably, losing Ty hurts the defense. Ty's a great defender, a phenomenal defender. We saw that for a full season the last time he played. He can guard a bunch of different positions. He usually guarded opposing teams' best players a couple years ago. And I think when you talk about like what would he have done on the court for Illinois this year, it would have started there. Like you would have used Ty and Kylan Boswell together to be elite defenders and cause teams a lot of problems. And now you lose one of those guys. I mean, you go through the guys they've added. Mihailo Petrovic is not exactly a guy we're expecting impact defense from. Ben Brickhouse struggled on that end a lot last year. Andrei Stojakovic, I don't think defense is really a selling point to his game. So you go down the line, there's not many plus defenders here anymore. Ty would have contributed in that sense without a question. The second and third things go hand in hand for me on what they're losing. They are losing both guard depth and arguably their most proven option at the four, which is a testament to how positionally versatile Ty is. But like, let's go through this quickly. Without Ty Rodgers, who is basically going to operate as like your third guard, your third point guard, you now have Petrovic, you have Boswell, you have Stojakovic, and that's it. And that is likely your starting one, two, and three. So unless you are going to play Jake Davis backup guard minutes, or
Mhm.
unless you are going to play Keaton Wagler a bunch, or Brandon Lee's better than we expect, which maybe those happen. I don't know. But you really now have three guards for three spots, unless you're backing up each other's positions and only two of those guys are on the floor. That's incredibly thin suddenly in a way that it just wasn't coming into it. And then simultaneously, while that happens, on the flip side, look, I didn't think he was going to win the four spot, but you got to admit, it's Ben Rickhouse, it's Ty Rodgers, or it's David Mirkovic, or it's Zvonimir Visic for the four. And I think they want Big Z to be the backup five. I think it was really going to be Merck or Ty or Ben, and they don't want to start Ben Rickhouse. They want to bring him off the bench this year. So suddenly you lose Ty Rodgers. Not only does your guard spot feel shallow, but now there's all this pressure on David Mirkovic to be really good. Otherwise, the only option is the guy you kind of fell out of love with by the end of last season in Rickhouse. And I guess it just leads me to say, like, main conclusion at the end of this, I think Brad's going to go try and find a couple more players here. I think you need, like, Ty was a singular guy who may not have been a star, but he did a lot of things well.
Mhm.
And you now have to find replacements for those things. And quite frankly, it's going to be hard to find one player who's capable of playing the four and the one equally. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and at worst, like you need, I think you need bodies, right? Like you saw what happened to last year's Illinois team. Like everything went wrong. You went through a year where like you had the sickness come through the team, you had injuries come through the team. I do think you need to prepare for the worst, and at worst, like have bodies to practice and things like that. So, obviously, I think there is more so of a player type that Brad should be out because I don't necessarily think that guy's like an international guy. I do think that, I'd have to see who's exactly in the portal with it, but I do think that Brad should try to go find possibly a veteran guy that can do a lot of different things. That'd be good for, good to have for the program to kind of replace what Ty has lost.
So that was my last question was going to be you're Brad Underwood. What do you do next? Because as you mentioned, let's go through the rotation quickly. Petro, Boswell, Stojakovic, Humrickhouse, Ivisic, Merkovic. That's seven guys. Your eighth guy is Jake Davis. Your ninth guy is Brandon Lee or Keaton Wagler. I mean, I think you could get through a season like that, but if Ty is missing the full season, I mean, I think candidly, everyone would agree this team is one, if not two guys short. So, options, you could just look for depth, get some bench type guys that are vetty, that'll only be here for a year, and see what's there. There's not much left in the portal, but you could try. Um, this would be kind of crazy, but I wouldn't put it past the Illinois staff. They've been good at shit like this. Could you tamper away someone who's already committed?
I was literally just about to say that same thing. Like there are guys that are just committed, not signed, that you could, I mean, the thing is like, what are you pitching it to be? But I think tampering would be a good way to go with this, to be honest with you.
You could do that. You
Like,
could.
let me throw a random name out there. Rashawn Agee, who's a Chicago guy, literally from the city of Chicago, 6'8", can do a little bit of like things like you have on the ride. Now I don't necessarily know if he's going to sign up for that, and he's at Texas A&M, so who knows what he's getting there. But like, I do think there should be some tampering that should go into this.
Could happen. I don't think they need to go that route in order to find some answers. But again, if you're looking for like an actual impact player, that's probably one of the only good ways to get one right now. Two other options that Brad Underwood has made a killing off of in recent years. You could go back overseas. I mean, there is no shortage of international players that want to come to
Another
America.
another one?
Get two more. Why not? Get a backup four and get a backup point guard. Shit. Where's Noam Yakov going?
Yeah, I forgot about him, man.
Slide in, right? Like that's I don't know. They have if they want to get more international players, they can get more international players. There's no question on that. If you want the safest, easiest way for Brad Underwood to get two more guys, that would be the way to do it. And then the one that intrigues me most as an option. Do you know what I'm about to say?
I think Coleman's out of eligibility.
Could you convince somebody to reclass? You did this last year with Will Riley. Will Riley is now a first round pick. It went well. He was great at the end of the year. And now you go through Illinois' offers in 26. I don't think a ton of them are ready. Like Dylan Mingo's not going to happen. Tay Kinney not going to happen. Duron Rippey not going to happen. Um, Everybody else is not super high impact. But I think there are some players in the class of 26 that are open to reclassing that play a position similar to Ty that would pick up the phone if you called with a price tag next to you.
True, but like that, I feel like that reclass would have to come with some stipulations.
Like what?
Like, are you reclassing to come play 15 minutes a game?
Well, depending on who you get, I think you could get somebody better than that.
Oh, so you're thinking like this shakes up things, like you get somebody that could possibly shake up how the roster looks.
You gonna make me name the name?
Yeah.
I want to preface this with this.
Oh God.
I've heard nothing about this being a real option since the Ty Rodgers injury, but I had heard that other programs were sniffing around this kid to reclass as a plan B if other things fell through. Mika Murinen.
Sheesh.
Mika Murinen, who Illinois has a great relationship with and recruited really hard. Mika Murinen from Finland, who is an international player that's already come overseas to play in America. He is the position of need. He is a four. He has been on record that he's open to reclassifying. His recruitment has pretty much fizzed. Like everybody wants him still, but like,
One way to get ahead in this recruitment is pitch him on this year, not next year.
I mean, Card, I was flatly told by multiple sources that if Yaxel decommitted or stayed in the NBA draft, Mika Murinen was Michigan's pivot. And listen, we have seen Brad Underwood pull a rabbit out of his hat before. If Brad Underwood goes from Ty Rodgers and a complete roster to Mika Murinen at the 11th hour, what do we say all the time is Brad Underwood's biggest strength?
His pivot.
He always has a perfect pivot.
He does. That'd be crazy.
I don't have a crystal ball because I don't make predictions. But I think if I had to guess, that's how I think this ends. Is Illinois does a reclass with an impact player that probably helps them more than Ty Rodgers.
And if it isn't him, I think we all know who it is.
Who?
It's Nico Bondolo.
Go sniffing right back there. Ty, get well. Genuinely, I hope we see you again in an Illinois uniform healthy on the court. That's what everybody wants to see at some point. So get well soon. Sad news, sad day.